Ladies and gentlemen, as we begin our services, if we can please kindly turn off all cell phones or electronic devices, or please place them on silent. Thank you.
Welcome to those gathered here in the chapel and those joining us via the live stream. Welcome. Eshet Chayil Mimsa, a woman of valor who can find, for her worth is far greater than rubies. The heart of her husband is safely trust in her, and through her he has no lack of gain. She does him good and not evil all the days of her life. She seeks wool and flax and works willingly with her hands. She is like the merchant ships. She brings her food from afar. She rises also while it is yet night, and she gives food to her household and a portion to her maidens. She considers a field and buys it, and with the fruit of her hands she plants a vineyard. She girds her loins with strength and makes strong her arms. She opens her mouth with wisdom, and the law of kindness is on her tongue. She looks well to the ways of her household and eats not the bread of idleness. Her children rise up and call her blessed, and her husband also, and he praises her. Many women have done valiantly, he says, but you exceed them all. End quote. I chose to begin our time together today in memory of Harriet Love by reading Eshet Chayil, a woman of valor, which comes from chapter 31 of the book of Proverbs. It is a song, it is used as a song sung each Friday night at the Shabbat table in celebration of a strong Jewish woman. And today, we are brought together in loving memory of just such a woman, of Harriet Love, a woman who I learned demonstrated many of the characteristics described in Eshet Chayil. To her beloved husband, Steve, to whom she was married over 50 years ago in 1973, coincidentally with the same anniversary date as my parents in 1973. She was such a rock. Her son Greg told me that a number of times over the past month, she made sure to tell him that Steve was her very best friend. Speaking of sons, together, Harriet and Steve raised 3 of them, Scott, Brett, and Greg, all who, like Eshet Chayil says, rise up, and to me were very clear that she was a blessing. They call her blessed. She always wanted to be a mother, and she made sure that her children felt her love, her warmth, and her tireless dedication. But of all the roles she played in this family, the ultimate role for her was that as Bubby. Her 5 grandchildren were everything to her. Alex and Ruby and Henry and Charlotte and Shira. So a word to you, the grandchildren. Death and grief is really hard. And we know how much your Bubby loves you and how much you love her. But in our Jewish tradition, we teach that the souls of those who die remain bound in the bond of life, meaning that even after someone dies, our loved ones stay connected to us. So you're the ones who help hold up that connection. So some tips on how to do it. You talk about her with one another and with your parents. You celebrate the incredible memories that you have of her, the hugs. I heard Shira likes to climb up on her lap, a lot. Of spectacular lovakas, her selflessness, and how she never let any physical limitations hold her back from being there with you in your life. You're the ones who best carry forward her legacy. That's how she stays with you forever. Now, I didn't know Harriet well in life. Our paths had crossed a couple of times, but we didn't know each other well. But I was able to develop a relationship with Steve through our shared love of automobiles, and I imagine some of his car friends are here today too, because Steve and me, and along with their son Greg, would often park our cars together at Cars and Coffee. And I got to know Greg, Naomi, Charlotte, and Shira during my tenure as their rabbi. My name is Rabbi Nathan Weiner, and it's an honor and representation of myself, my family, the car-loving community, and the Jewish community to be present here with you today. I'm joined by my friend and colleague, Rabbi Pamela Gottfried, the rabbi of Congregation Beth Tikva, who you're going to hear from shortly as well. I had the opportunity to spend some time with Steve and with their sons and with Harriet's sister Sherry and her niece Kelly, who shared with me more about who Harriet was. I learned about a number of difficulties she faced in her formative years, between losing her father at a young age and a horrible motorcycle accident that kept her in the hospital for 6 months, enduring many surgeries. I learned about her relationship to her sister, to whom, when they would play school, was a strict teacher, I heard, as kids. I learned about her courtship to Steve and how he needed to impress a lot of the family members of the family in order to prove himself. And I asked him, well, how'd you do? He said, I married her. You did well, Steve. I learned about her 25 years as a committed teacher aide, influencing the lives of her students, who in turn influenced her. More than all of that, though, I have to say, I think Greg said it best in our meeting when he told me that for his mom, it always came back to the giving. Love, compassion, care, and giving. It was never about what she wanted. It was all about her selflessness. And you're going to hear shortly from members of the family who will share about Harriet's immense impact on them. So more formally, we join together today to mourn the loss and celebrate the life of Harriet Love. She's survived by her husband, Stephen Love, and her sons, Scott and his wife, Anna, Brett and his wife, Kimmy, and Greg and his wife, Naomi, her sister, Sherry, her nieces, Kelly and Chrissy, and the loves of her life, her 5 grandchildren, Alex, Ruby, Henry, Charlotte, and Shira. I pray I got every name correct. Okay, good. May your love and care for one another bring you closer, and God willing, may it carry you through this difficult loss and transition. It's customary at times of grief, when other words fail us, that we look to Tehillim, we look to the Psalms. And to share Psalm 23, I welcome Rabbi Pamela Gottfried to the bima.
Mizmor LeDavid, Adonai ro'i lo achzar, bino tedeshe yarbitzeni, al mei menuchot yinahaleni. Nafshi yishovev, yancheni v'magle tzedek lema'an shemo. A psalm of David, Adonai is my shepherd, I shall not want. Adonai makes me lie down in green pastures. Adonai leads me beside the still waters. God restores my soul, guides me in straight paths, for God's name's sake. Gam ki elech begetz almaved lo irara, ki ata imadi, shivtecha mishantecha, hema yenachamuni, ta'aroch lefanai shulchan, neged sorarai. Dishanta vashemen roshi kosi rivaya. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You have anointed my head with oil. My cup overflows. Ach tov v'chesed yirdefuni kol yemei chayai, v'shavti beveit Adonai le'orech yamim. Surely goodness and mercy will follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of God forever.
And from Kohelet, Ecclesiastes chapter 3. For everything there is a season, a time for every experience under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot what has been planted, a time to tear down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to grieve and a time to dance, a time to throw stones and a time to gather stones, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to seek and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear and a time to sow, a time for silence and a time for speaking. We've arrived at a time for speaking as members of the family have prepared words of a hesped, or a eulogy, to share in Harriet's memory, lifting up her honor, her kavod. You're first going to hear from some of her grandchildren as all of her grandchildren come up together, followed by her son Brett and her son Scott. Grandchildren, come on up.
Hi everyone, I'm Alex. I'm daughter of Harriet's son Scott and daughter-in-law Anna. When I sat down to write about my bubby, I didn't know what to say. There were so many things that I thought about when I thought about my bubby. And I knew I couldn't boil her down to one word or simply a paragraph because bubby was so many things to me. She was joyful, she was kind, she was extremely loving, but most of all, she was a bubby, and she was a truly amazing bubby. Bubby is someone I have always and will always look up to. Her cheery disposition was contagious, and she always lit up a room, even when she was sick. Bubby always managed to make me smile, and I have so many wonderful memories of her that I will cherish and have cherished forever. She demonstrated what a truly good person was, and loved her family with all of her heart. Whether she was discussing a book with me or sneaking me a cookie that I probably shouldn't have had, she always made me feel special. She made me feel like I was so incredibly loved and cared about. If I can make another person feel even half of how she made me feel, that would be a gift. Even though Bubby may not be with us anymore, I will still continue to learn from her through what she has taught and shown me. Bubby always said it was a blessing to have such amazing grandchildren, but the real blessing was having her as a grandmother.
Hi, I'm Ruby Love, daughter of Harriet's son Brett Love and my mom Kim Love. Harriet is my bubby. In the 13 years I knew her, she was a very nice and kind grandmother. She would always tell me how much she loved me. I don't usually speak much about what I believe in, but I do believe that Bubby was one of the happiest people ever. Whenever I went to Bubby's house, I had something to look forward to. I always looked forward to that warm, cozy feeling when you walked in the house, and her special French toast she made me when I was hungry. I looked forward to the yogurt she would give me before I ate, and the lollipops she would give me when we watched a movie. In the past year, she has gone through a lot, going to the hospital almost every month. I never saw her as a weak person, but instead a brave hero fighting every day to get better. Throughout the year when she was sick, she always had a smile on her face. I never saw her complain about what she was going through, but instead, she was always grateful for what she had. I will miss the good movie recommendations and the game show talks and the good food. But most of all, I will miss her. I have so much more to say, but I'm going to keep it short. Bubby lived along 75 years and would love that everyone she loves is here in one place.
It's a bold move having them go first. Right. Right. Yeah. Bold. Yeah. Brett. Yeah.
Today we honor someone who's able to achieve her life's dreams, find her true purpose, and leave a legacy. Yes, I'm talking about my mom. These might not be common ways we have thought about her. Kind, caring, loving, at times silly, a huge fan of new shows streaming, might be descriptions we use often when talking and thinking about Harriet Love. But dreams fulfilled, legacy, maybe they're not as common, but they should be. My mom has often spoken about a traumatic moment in her life, a horrific motorcycle accident. For those who didn't know my mom earlier in life, I'm sure would be surprised to hear she was actually on a motorcycle. and quite possibly more than once. Moments following the accident, I'm not even trying to be funny. Moments following the accident, after being thrown from the bike, she recalled laying on the ground with little to no feeling in her body. She remembered only thinking about one thing. Her dream of having children and a family of her own were now stolen from her. That was all that was on her mind. That was all she hoped and wished for. And at that moment, in the next several months in the hospital, the dream was impossible to attain. With the love and support of her family, especially her sister and mom, my mom got back on her feet. Perhaps it was my mom, Ruth, encouraging my mom to open the hospital window and yell obscenities out of it. A few years after that, her dreams began to take root in reality. Still awaiting an operation to fix her knee, my mom had a second blind date with the man who became her loving husband. I'm missing a page. Seriously. Yeah, my phone's off. Shit. Shit. I wasn't prepared to do this by heart. Marriage and a son followed within a year after that. And then 2 more sons. And after that, the 5 Loves were a family. I apologize. This is not the way I wanted it to go. But I guess you can say it's typical. All right. With 2 more boys to round it out, the 5 Loves were a family. The years were filled with laughter, often at one of our expenses. They were filled with wonder, mostly from my mom, puzzled by the screams and thuds coming from upstairs. And they were filled with moments my brothers and I reminisce about, all shaped by her love. Any of us will be blessed to be able to fulfill a dream. My mom got to live hers every day. This was all she ever wanted. Her life has taught me that achieving one's dreams opens the doorway to finding one's true purpose. Her dream of having a family led to her destiny of being a bubby. As much as she loved being a mom, she was always meant to be a bubby. So for the 5 grandchildren who completed my mom's journey, I encourage you to remember your bubby the best you can, in every way you can. Sometimes it will be stories. Sometimes it will be moments or flashes of images in your head. Sometimes it will be in the actions you do. Sometimes it will be hard. You will find difficulty in remembering certain details. Please don't worry, because those are not always the most important parts. When you want to remember Bubby best, close your eyes, imagine her hug. Pay close attention to that warm feeling you get, that same one you felt when you were with her. That is your Bubby's love. That is your Bubby's legacy. Share it with your friends. Share it with your family, especially your G-pop, and share it with the world.
This is why I kept it to 1 page. I can't lose the second. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here. My name is Scott Love, and I was Harriet's oldest son. In life, you only get one mom. If you're lucky, she'll be kind, will know how to make your tuna fish sandwiches just the way you like them, and turn the other way when you grab just one last cookie from the cookie jar. She will try to keep the peace in the house while giving you and your siblings every opportunity to build your own bonds. And by the way, everything was always Brett's fault. She will elevate a Duncan Hines cake, birthday cake, to new culinary heights. And remember which flavor you like the best. Mark Green? Yeah. That's for you. She will take care of you when you're sick and climb into bed with you when you're a little kid who just woke up from a bad dream. And she will unconditionally love you just for being yourself. And in life, if you're lucky, you'll get 2 grandmas. If you're really lucky, maybe one of them will be a bubby. A bubby lives for her grandchildren. Her world will revolve around their achievements, their pursuits, their interests, and how each one of them is the greatest grandkid ever. And in the great Bubby Olympics, Alex, Ruby, Henry, Charlotte, and Shira all finished tied for first. My mom was all these things. You can live a lifetime and not find somebody more humble, more selfless, more giving, and more thoughtful than my mother. My mom was not motivated by material things. My mom was not motivated by grand personal aspirations. My mom was not motivated by reaching the top of some proverbial mountain. She was motivated by making the world a better place for those she cared about. And with that goal in mind, my mom's life was a huge success. In life, you only get one mom. And Mom, I sure am glad you were mine.
It is with these beautiful memories and dedications in mind that we move to El Malei Rachamim, the central prayer of a Jewish memorial service that asks that as we prepare to inter Harriet's body shortly at Montefiore, that her soul be granted true rest in the wings of God's divine presence. I'll read it first in the English translation, followed by chanting it in the Hebrew. If it's comfortable physically for you to do so, I invite you to please rise. O God, full of compassion, who dwells on high, grant true rest upon the wings of the Shekhinah, the divine presence, in the exalted spheres of the holy and pure, who shine as a resplendence of the firmament to the soul of Harriet Love, who has gone to her eternal home. For charity has been donated in remembrance of her soul. May her place of rest be in the Garden of Eden. Therefore, may the All-Merciful One shelter her with the cover of God's wings forever and bind her soul in the bond of life. Adonai is her heritage. May she rest in her resting place in peace, and let us say, Amen. El Malei Rachamim, Shochen Bamromim, Hamitzei Menucha Nechona, Tachat Kanfei HaShechina, B'ma'alot Kedoshim U'Tehorim, Kezohar Harakia Mazhirim, Et Nishmat Hershel Bat Ruth, Shehalcha Le'olama, Ba'avor Shnadvu Tzedakah, Ba'ad Hazkarat Nishmata, Began Eden Dehe Menuchata, Lachen Bal Harachamim Yastireha B'Setar Kenafav Le'olamim, Bitzror Hachayim Et Nishmata, Adonai Hu Nachalata, V'tanuach al mishkava b'shalom, v'nomar Amen. Please be seated. Our time together here in the chapel is drawing to a close. Those going to the cemetery immediately following our time here will make our way in processional to Montefiore Cemetery in Jenkintown. Following interment, friends and family, the extended network are welcome for visits and a meal of consolation at the Country Club Diner on Cotman Avenue in Philadelphia. Additionally, the family asks that donations in lieu of flowers please be made to one of two organizations that the family holds dear: the Pulmonary Hypertension Association or the Multiple Myeloma Research Foundation.